Well, I guess like any story, the very best place to start is at the very beginning. And this story starts when I was at the first meetup at the Buckeye Boys Club a couple of years ago. And we were sitting visiting, and Keith was sitting in the couch next to me in the clubhouse. And he mentioned the fact as we were driving around, we saw some Amish buggies. And some of them were driven by women, and some of them were driven by the guys, and the guys would usually be driving the enclosed buggies, and the women would be driving the open air ones, and they were usually younger women too. And he mentioned to me, he said, you notice when you wave, the girls always wave back, but the guys never wave back. And I thought, well, you know, that could have various different reasons. That's not necessarily that unusual of a deal. But it stuck in my mind, and this theory kind of comes up from the fact of a lot of different facts stuck in different places at different times before they kind of came together as an overall idea that came together and made a lot of sense to me. So I'm driving around, and I'm noticing this too after he mentioned it, that yeah, it was the open air buggies that where the women were driving, and with rare exception there were some women that drove the enclosed buggies. But I also was noticing too that besides not waving to you, the Amish men, the young ones and the old ones, they would just, I mean, stare straight ahead. They would not even make eye contact with you. And I'm like, I'm thinking in Chicago, you know, when somebody doesn't want to draw attention to you in downtown Chicago, they could walk right past you and they never do eye contact. It's just like straight ahead. And I'm noticing, well, then the guys are driving these enclosed buggies, and you can't really see inside them either. They've got little tiny windows, and they're painted black, and they're really dark inside, so whatever would be inside these buggies. Now, I'm not saying that they, you know, carry, you know, weaponry or something like that. I'm just saying that whatever they do carry in there, they don't want the prying eyes to see what it is. I imagine most of the time it's probably groceries or just ordinary household goods, stuff like that. But I'm also thinking there must be times they could possibly be carrying stuff they don't want somebody to know what it is they're carrying. And what could that possibly be? And just nothing was coming to mind at the time. And then let me get to the other part of the story. The other part of the story, and I've done this in videos before, and I've kind of joked about it and you know, just mocked it in a way and stuff like that. There's a show after I stopped having satellite. I still continue to watch the show because some people would post it at various places like YouTube and stuff like that before it would be pulled down. I think it's National Geographic or the History Channel, I forget which, but I would catch them as they would post them because I had started watching it before I disabled my satellite dish, and that was Finding Bigfoot. And so that was always in my mind and things like that. And what really started bringing this idea together was during my last trip this year, when I was actually coming back up from Kentucky, and I was driving through some of these areas where the Finding Bigfoot, I was actually in some of the areas where the Finding Bigfoot crew actually was. And I thought, it's really funny, and there must be a reason that all of the time these Finding Bigfoot crew are never finding Bigfoot, and yet all the people around them are spotting them. The people that actually live in the area do see them on occasions, but these people that come out there, they can just seem to never find them. So if they even were real, somehow they're just disappearing from one location to another. And how could that possibly be? And then the little light, right when I was cruising through Kentucky, the little light just all of a sudden blinked on, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, there's got to be a connection here. Bigfoot and the Amish, they're both in the same exact rural areas. They both are basically a peaceful people that don't really want to encounter other outsiders at all, so they've got the similarities there. And what better actually linked together would it be than if they had some kind of an alliance? In other words, I'm flat out stating that I was suspicious at the time. I am wondering if these Amish people are sneaking the Bigfoots around. They would actually, you know, the windows are dark, they're small, all the Bigfoot would have to do is go in there and lie down, and, you know, as long as he could scrunch up enough. Now, you know, if he accidentally tried to stretch out or something like that, these buggies are not that big. And so that was my idea, and it seemed to make a lot of sense too, because you figure, well, I know the Pennsylvania Amish in the more metropolitan areas are associating with the regular people. They call us the English, and I've seen them use heavy equipment to raise the barns and stuff like that, just regular equipment like we use for construction. But in the rural areas, you never see that. You only see people standing around raising the barn. And all these timbers, they're huge, and some of these, I don't know, some of these things they have to do seem to require a very enormous amount of strength. Well, what better if in exchange for rides, these Bigfoots come out when, you know, just the Amish around and no English people around to see, and help them raise all these timbers and stuff like that. I mean, these Bigfoots are like 7, 8 foot tall. I mean, probably as strong as 10 people. I mean, at least that's what the theory says and everything. But just coming up with this idea, and as much as everything seems to fall in place, I mean, they're both pacifists. The Bigfoots do bluff charges on people once in a while. I've heard people say that, but they never attack. They run away. They still try to avoid people. So they're both totally pacifist cultures, the Bigfoot culture and the Amish culture. But the thing that really I needed to be able to do for proof is I actually needed to get pictures. That's what I really needed to do. I needed to get some absolute proof that it's not just an idea. And before I get into how I came up with that, the last thing that really cinched it for me too was I looked on one of the forums where people were criticizing the Bigfoot hunters, especially that guy named Cliff that's with the Bigfoot hunters that's supposed to be more objective and a little more skeptical than the rest. And he talked about the fact that they used that thermal imager to actually show something, and it ended up being, the thermal image was showing that what they thought at first might be a Bigfoot, but it ended up being a horse. Well, my contention is that if they would have investigated it further, they probably didn't bother to go out and check it because they didn't quite figure it out like I did. If they would have gone over to the horse that was far away, there probably was a buggy hooked up to it, and they were probably either doing a pickup or a drop-off of a Bigfoot creature right there. And to me, that just really confirmed it. When even the Bigfoot hunters got fooled by it, I figured, haha, they did not even put 2 and 2 together. I mean, I've never even heard them even mention anything about this possibility. So anyway, that's my idea, but I've got to put some kind of proof to it or something like that. Well, I had the perfect person in the area. That's my buddy Muzzle Mike. He's done some work for me before in the past, and also I brought in my friend Bob Tower on it too. So he was going to work on some of it for me too, and I'll get to what he did for me later. But so what we ended up doing is we raised the money and we sent out a really nice camera that could take some really sharp pictures, because I hate when people post those stupid fuzzy pictures far away. It could be a Bigfoot, it could be a bear, it could be a person in a hunting suit. You don't know. It's so far away and so grainy you can't see a damn thing. So I wanted some good quality pictures, so we got up the money and we sent out a really nice quality camera. But unfortunately, the first time Mike went to use it, what happened, the Bigfoot jumped out of the buggy and scared him. He dropped the camera, broke it, jumped on his bike and ran away. So we didn't get a good picture there. So it took us a little time. I think this was back in June or July, I forget which. But so we had to delay this a little bit and come up with a little bit more money to raise to raise enough money to buy a camera again, because that one, it was, you know, I think even when he went back to try to find it, I don't think it was even there. So either somebody picked it up or I don't know what happened. But we raised the money, we got another camera, and we got him to take some pretty decent pictures. And I thought that they were good enough even the way they were, but I know my friend Bob, he's in the business of doing, you know, different kind of Photoshop stuff and things like that that can kind of enhance the pictures, because I wanted to make sure this was absolute, no questions asked, that you weren't just seeing a toy or a fuzzy doll or a shadow of an Amish person or something like that. So I'm just going to post up these pictures now that Mike was able to get with the second camera. And so, yeah, here is my absolute proof that the Amish people are basically acting as a taxi service for the Bigfoots, and that's how they get around the different people, how nobody's ever going to be able to probably catch them because the Amish people do not associate with the English people. They are the perfect helpers for each other. The Amish help out the Bigfoots help out the Amish, and, you know, they're building projects and stuff like that. I mean, it's like a match made in heaven. I mean, how much better could you possibly be? And nobody else, and the fact that they were able to pull it off so long, and I think absolutely I am the first person that has ever actually come up with this theory, and not only that, but gave it proof. So let me know what you think. I think I've kind of come through with a breakthrough. There may be TV shows, documentaries, books, DVDs in the future. I will let you know. And this is exclusively on the Buckeye Boys channel only. All I am going to put up on my channel is just a reference and a link to this video. So you will not see it on my actual channel. I'm giving the Buckeye Boys credit for this, just merely for the fact that Keith was the one that put this little grain of thought in my mind to put all this together. And I think I've smashed past anything Alex Jones could ever think of doing, anything any of the rest of the conspiracy nuts, the UFO guys. I mean, their stuff is nonsense compared, because all of them were totally fooled by this, and people mock the Amish people for being kind of backwards, but you know what? They fooled us for lots of years. They fooled us for hundreds of years possibly doing this, and they got away with it. So thanks for watching, everybody. I will catch you later.